Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to this very special edition of Atlanta Business Radio. Blake, it is time for ATDC Radio. I love coming down here to the campus and doing this show. There's so much energy, a lot of IQ points walking these halls, but a lot of enthusiasm and so much collaboration. I just love the energy here and glad you could come down here and join me, man.
Yeah, glad to be here. It's good to finally be in Georgia Tech.
All right. First up, in episode 1 here on ATDC Radio today, please join me in welcoming to the broadcast ATDC mentor, Nakia Melecio. How are you?
I am good this morning. A little sleepy, but I'm good. I've been in and out of an airport for the past 3 weeks, in and out of hotels, but I'm enjoying being back here at ATDC. I love being here coaching and mentoring.
Well, we are delighted to have you. We went and got you off of your perch there in the lobby.
Uh-oh.
This is where you live, in this lobby. We've been down here probably 6 or 8 months now, coming once a month to broadcast live, interviewing folks all over the place. And I got to say, I think I see you out there almost all the time.
All the time. I take most of my office hours Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Occasionally, unless there's a crisis or something and somebody needs to talk to me immediately. And then, sometimes I'll dip in maybe a Monday or Friday. But for the most part, I'm here Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays is where you'll see me out there in my chi spot.
So a day in the life of an ATDC mentor, what do you do?
Yeah. So most times, I spend a lot of time in the customer discovery process. We have customer discovery lab every Thursday. And a lot of times there's companies that are in there that are going through the customer discovery process. And oftentimes they'll want to have like office hours after to kind of talk about some of their findings. To talk about some of the things that they're doing within their business model. And sometimes I just spend time just helping them tweak it, making sure that they're talking to the right customer. And we just kind of brainstorm on what's the best strategy for, building out their business.
So what drew you to fill this role? What were you doing before you were doing this?
Oh God, I was, had like 20 other jobs I was doing. No,
you can't hold a job,
right?
Can you?
I am the epitome of a serial entrepreneur. I've got that sickness and that disease that I just can't get rid of. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. The running joke, we did a little video around here and Aubrey makes a joke about it. He says, if I hear one more comment about a pack of now laters, I'm going to pass out. But literally, I figured it out as a young entrepreneur. And what drew me here to ATDC, actually, I found out about ATDC because I mentor for the National Science Foundation, and we had a meeting with the team which was a Georgia Tech team, and we met here. And I was like, how have I been in Atlanta all this time and I've never known about ATDC? And so it was just kind of one of those things where I walked in, I was like, okay, this feels like home to me, and then I was like, I got to figure out how, to become a mentor here. And it was a process. You apply, you submit what your skills are. It took a couple months. I heard back, came in for the interview, and they said, sure, you can come on board and mentor. And it's been a wonderful experience ever since then.
So walk us through it. I was about to say a young person, but it's not necessarily the case. There are people that maybe are on second, third, fourth chapter, taking another swing at this thing. So I won't say young person, but a person getting something going. One of the things they can avail themselves of just all of this education and access. So, that person or that team is taking advantage of all of that. When and how do you get plugged into the process?
To when they're starting the business or?
Yeah, or I guess so.
Yeah. So it's kind of, there's no, okay, we're going to start here. We're going to start here.
It's not step 3.5.
Yeah, it's not step 3.5. It's kind of like, okay, a lot of the companies, they think they know what starting a business is. And so they go out, they get their business card, get the business license, get the
everything
website,
but a customer.
Everything but a customer. Right. And so then they go out and they try this, and they try everything in the world. And then they come back in and it's like, man, something's missing. And I was like, yeah, you don't know who your customer is. That's what's missing. It's like you spent all this money. And so what I try to do is I try to help them understand who their customer is. Oftentimes people will say, well, Delta Airlines is my business. Let's just throw that out there, and they'll say, well, I'm providing X service to this airline. Okay, well, who's buying that specific service? Oh, well, Delta's buying it. No, Delta's not buying that service. Who specifically within that industry or that specific person within that specific department that's buying your specific service? And that's what I spend time helping them understand. Who is the right person? Are you talking to the right person? And oftentimes they don't understand that. They think it's just the big, large company, and it's usually that real micro, small individual who has the problem, who has the pain. And I try to help them identify who that person is and where that pain is.
So I want to talk about this problem pain thing, because I wonder if you find this. I run into it occasionally trying to be a little bit of a strategic marketing resource to some firms. Do you find that some people come in here with a solution in search of a problem?
All the time.
As opposed to identifying a problem?
All the time.
Speak to that a little bit, because that's a real challenge for folks.
It is because it's we all have these natural assumptions because, we're the smart at something, educated at something, or we spend some time working in specific industry. So we have these natural assumptions on that we know what the problem is, but everybody's job is different from company to company, but the problem may be specifically the same. But it's how do you figure out how to get your business in there to solve that very specific problem? A lot of companies will try to say, well, I have the answer to your problem, but you never talk to the person to really get their perspective on it. And so I spend a lot of time helping them understand how to deliver their services, their goods to that specific company, suspend your bias, understand the job from their perspective and not your own.
Okay, so there's a couple of different facets to this, at least two that I'm picking up on. One is the mindset, the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm going to do this. And I guess customer discovery is the kind of the accepted nomenclature for that idea. We're going to go find out what problems people are having, how they're viewing them, all of those kinds of things. And then there's, I don't know, maybe structure, discipline, rigor, methodology around how to conduct customer discovery. Correct. There's both of those things, right?
Yeah. There's definitely, when you think of it, you've got an ecosystem. There's stakeholders. And if you have stakeholders within this ecosystem, let's just take, for instance, I was working with a company. Well, it was actually some student startups out of Florida State, and they had a sensor that worked in harsh environments. Now, they thought NASA was their client. They thought like SpaceX and all of those rocket propulsion places was their client. Now, true indeed, that could have been a client, but was that the right market entry for you? So we spent a lot of time. I said, let me push back on you a little bit. Let's do a little bit more customer discovery and see what other industries and segments that may have the potential interest in what your technology is from a sensor we're operating in a harsh environment. So they found a customer in Siemens. They use jet turbines. They have a need for sensors. They have a need for high temperature sensors. So they're able to do customer discovery, push back on the initial idea to get into a market to be able to test out their product. Then once they were able to test out their product via a case study, then they were able to see, hey, you know what? We do have a market, but it was not the market that we thought. It was a whole nother adjacent market, and they were able to grow scale, and they're doing leaps and bounds in revenue. So It's just finding the right customer. Oftentimes we have an initial assumption who we think the customer is, but customer discovery unpacks all these other markets that you're not even thinking about that have the potential problem. And there's a lower barrier of entry because some of these markets, depending on the deeper the technology, the deeper the tech that you're working on, there's regulations, there's challenges, there's hurdles like that can prevent you from getting in and prevent you from scaling in those markets.
And with your background and experience, you have the scar tissue, knowledge base, experience base, maybe to save me some time, energy, and effort in trying to get something ramped up, right?
Oh yeah. I was thinking about it a couple of weeks ago, and I keep a record of all the all the companies I've worked with over the years. And I thought about it. I've spent over 15,000 hours mentoring, coaching, and consulting.
Wow.
Coaching over 700 companies, 5 different continents and 13 different countries, and across over 100 different types of industries. And I thought about that. And there are some industries that are way out there, but when you understand the basic fundamentals of business, the principles of business, I haven't found too many markets that I've tried to jump in. And if I don't know it, I just say, hey, look, I don't have a clue about what you're doing, in that specific market, but I do have a friend that can help you. But yeah, you learn a certain unique set of skills. And I think that's why I love being here at ATDC. While I'm able to coach and mentor to a lot of the companies, there's also a lot of companies that are in segments that I've never coached in before. But they stretch me to learn. They stretch me to be a better coach, to be a better mentor. So it becomes a bit of a learning process for me and a humility process for me as well.
So you're learning the whole time.
I'm learning the whole time,
You're building
too.
your base.
Oh,
Absolutely. So don't name any names if the answer to this is yes. But do you occasionally run into people that you just have to say to yourself, these folks are uncoachable?
Absolutely. And I know instantly whether a company is coachable or not.
You can pick that up pretty quick.
Like a dog can sniff out a bone in 6 feet of dirt. I can tell when a company is coachable or not. And sometimes I'll back off. Sometimes they're just not ready for coaching. Sometimes they don't know what they want or what they need. And so last thing that they want is they're the expert, and getting them to be able to suspend that to say, hey, you have a certain pattern of thinking that you have that can be beneficial to us, that has a way of looking at problems and extracting it, and we can benefit from that. Because sometimes when you get in the thick of things, they've got investors, they've got employees, they've got all these other competing things that kind of stifle some of that creativity and that ability to really strategize and think through problems sometimes. And that's where the mentors and the coaches can come in, because we can look at it from a different perspective and say, hey, this is what we think. But getting them to acknowledge that they need to be coachable or need to be coached is sometimes hard at first. But, they usually come around when it's like, either I get coaching or I die.
Right.
So to speak. Then it's like, okay, I'm ready for coaching. Can you help me out here?
So far, I don't think that anyone has told me I'm uncoachable in the business world, but I was told that quite a bit playing second base for Slick and Ellie's Pizza. And it always just really, it really hit me in the gut.
Right.
Peyton, you're uncoachable.
Right.
But hopefully I've matured enough that doesn't happen now. Right. If you have a new effort that we're going to embark upon, would you seek out a mentor?
Oh, absolutely. I have people
even as experienced and all as you are. You would still.
I am. I think that in this business, working with companies, I think humility, honesty, and integrity, and knowing your strengths and weaknesses is very crucial to be successful in the business world and in this industry. If you begin to think that you're above yourself, you will miss multiple opportunities. There are moments sometimes. I may not necessarily get the opportunity to talk to people that I would like to have advice from, but I'm an avid reader. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm constantly feeding myself. And sometimes I'm able to glean an answer for something that I'm struggling with from someone that I may follow on Twitter or someone that I may follow on LinkedIn. And I'm able to connect with that person. And to get, if I can't get to them directly, but also, I believe in, accountability. I've gone to some of the catalysts here at ATDC and saying, hey, is there something that you see within me or see within my coaching that you think needs to be changed or needs to be adjusted? Or, do I need to dial back, dial it up, say something this way as opposed to this way? Yeah, I'm all about learning and walking in humility, because you'll never get anywhere being arrogant in this business. So
let's talk about the ATDC environment a little bit. You mentioned Catalyst. If you know the distinction, or at least around here, between mentor and Catalyst, is it a different role, a different set of responsibilities?
Yes. So we all are here to support the companies.
Right.
We all do it in different capacities. The catalysts are assigned companies to them.
Okay.
As mentors, we're not assigned any companies. We're here to be a support staff, a support system to the catalyst and to ATDC. Now, we do get companies that frequently see us as mentors, because every mentor has a different set of skills. And sometimes, the catalyst, may have that skill set or may not have that skill set, but the mentor does. And so we spend time, like I said, supporting the staff, because that's what the mentor's ultimate role is to be a support system to ATDC and to the Catalyst and to the staff.
So what's your favorite part, man? What do you like the most?
I love customer discovery. That's the part that I can tell a company if they've done customer discovery, if they really know their industry, they really know their market. If they don't know their market, I can sniff that out instantly. So yeah, I love the customer discovery part. I love ripping it apart. I love dissecting it. I like to say that I'm very surgical, intentional, and tactical the way I coach and the way I mentor. I often try to look for your blind spots, and then coach to your weaknesses and encourage your strengths. And that's what my role is. I view my role as a mentor, you're the what and I'm the how in this equation, so how do you get from point A to B if you're stuck? So if you're stuck, my role as a mentor is to find a way to get you unstuck, and let you own the decision about where you're trying to go.
Man, it is so evident just in hearing you talk about it, how passionate you are about that whole process. I believe it. So you don't have to sell me at this point, although you might have had to a year ago on the value of customer discovery. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because I'm hanging out here so much. Right. And boy, do I not know how to go about it. So there really is some structure, some methodology, some rules, some disciplines that should be followed to do that properly. Yeah, talk about that a little bit. I know you can't run a whole class.
Yeah, so to give a short snapshot, so we do the customer discovery process. We do use the business model canvas. The business model canvas works really, really well when you couple that with customer discovery. Customer discovery is you going out, getting a good understanding of the customer's problem, not your solution or your technology. So oftentimes we tell people, leave your technology out of the equation so that we can focus on what the industry problem is. And once we understand what the industry problem is, then you can in turn say, hey, this customer segment over here is not our segment. So, or this customer segment might be our possible segment, but let's do a little further customer discovery. And customer discovery is around asking questions, understanding the day in the life of that individual, understanding how are you doing your job? How do you go about getting that job done? What are the tools you need? What are the problems you're having? What are the friction points in that specific job? And then we try to find enough people that have the same problem. Then once we found that cluster of people that have the same problem, we found a customer segment. Then that's where you begin to build around the customer segment. Now, it doesn't stop there. Then you move into, now we have an MVP. Now let's tell people what our technology is. We found a segment. Now that segment and matched it with that MVP. Now let's go test this thing and see if it actually works. And then we get the feedback from that. I tell people who build apps and develop, say, listen, you don't build anything until you talk to people, until you know specifically what they need. Yeah. We're too way enamored with going and building things and building stuff. I got to raise that money. I got to raise that seed round. I got to get that Series A. We get so caught up in the glamour of the world of startup that we forget, are we building companies? Are we hiring people? Are we building jobs? Are we truly disrupting industry? Are we truly changing the narrative? Those are the things that I kind of care about, and those are the kinds of things that customer discovery can unpack.
Now, do you personally have a sweet spot in terms of industry or size sector that you really like to sort of stay in a lane?
Yeah, so I love anything that, like I said, is research focused. I love working with scientists. I love working with engineers. Okay. I love anything, like I said, anything that's in biotech, aerospace, energy, military technology, defense, education, anything that's research related that spins out of a university. I have a strong strength in tech transfer, so I understand that process. I understand what it takes to take a product from the university, commercialize it, take it to market, understand all of the challenges that some of them will face, whether it's trying to sell into DoD, or whether it's trying to understand the FDA and where your technology or solution falls into that equation, or if it's trying to get past any regulatory issues as it relates from the energy space. So I help companies, scientists build successful companies. But translating the science into business. And oftentimes they don't know how to do that. They're very smart at the science, but they don't know the business. And so I'm kind of like the conduit. I'm the in-between person. I'm technical enough to understand their research, but I understand the business. And so I help them to form a business out of their research. And so that's where my sweet spot is.
Wow. I just wonder, as you were saying that, how much really good, solid research that could probably have tremendous impact on the planet is not being and may not ever be commercialized because they're, for whatever reason, they're not taking advantage of the kind of expertise and attention that you and ATDC give toward this. So I think I know the answer to this, but your counsel would be, I believe, maybe instead of just going out into the world and seeking a mentor, find a structured system that, for whom it is the reason they get up in the morning, like an ATDC, to help guide you to some of the right resources. Yeah, that would be your counsel?
Absolutely. I mean, spend some time. I mean, people here at ATDC, from the mentors to the catalysts to the staff, they're very generous with their time, and they have deep, deep understanding of multiple industries, multiple segments, and they care deeply about companies being able to be successful. There's a lot to be said when you're speaking of ATDC. There's a lot that comes with that, and I think that if companies would really buy in the process, and what I mean by buy-in for the customer discovery, go through the educate. If your desire is to be an accelerate, do what you need to do to be that. If your desire is to be a signature, do what you need to do that. And then you have the coaching staff, you have the mentor staff, you have all the resources that are here to help you be successful. Sometimes one of my famous things that I like to tell companies is sometimes you need to slow down to speed up. Oftentimes it's like you're trying to take a corner, a sharp corner, 90 miles an hour in a Hyundai. Yeah, you may get it, but you may run off that cliff. But if I give you a Ferrari and have you make that corner at 90 miles an hour, yeah, you may make that corner. So it's helping entrepreneurs understand you're a Hyundai right now. You're not a Ferrari. And so, but you have the ability to get there, and this environment can help you get there so that when you do get to that corner and you have to take it at 90 miles an hour, now we've equipped you with the right vehicles, the right tools, the right resources so that you can in turn be a successful entrepreneur or take that corner at 90 and have the confidence to be able to do that.
What a marvelous set of resources. I mean, thank God for ATDC, and I think they're very blessed to have you on board. So if someone wants to reach out, have a conversation with you, talk more about mentoring in general, or maybe begin to get some insight on anything from customer discovery to genuinely commercializing research, what's the best way for them to connect? Whatever you think is appropriate, LinkedIn, email, phone, whatever's appropriate.
All of the above. I mean, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. They can reach out to my website, iDesign Project. They can find me there. They can find me in ATDC's online. They can just put my name in there and they'll find all my information as well. Or you can find me in my personal lounge boy chair right here in the lobby, with my coffee waiting on folks. But yeah, you can find me here. I'm very easy to find. There's not too many Nakia Melecios floating around here.
Well, it has really been a pleasure visiting with you this morning. Absolutely. Keep up the good work, man. And let's check in with each other from time to time. Absolutely. Get us updated on some of the stuff that you're working on. And because these are stories, I think they need to be shared, man.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Hey, stay with us. We're going to visit with a couple more guests, okay?
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
All right. Next up on ATDC Radio this morning, please join me in welcoming to the show CEO with Press Sports, Mr. Conrad Cornell. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Stone. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you. So what'd you learn in that last segment?
Well, I think that we did some customer discovery, but maybe not as in-depth as what Nakia was describing.
So what was that like for you? Did it surprise you how much you did learn, and maybe you learned some things that you just did not see coming when you went through that process on your own?
Well, I mean, it was weird. So I was in college, and we had this idea Drew and I did. I'm here with my partner, Drew.
Good morning, Drew. How are you? What's your last name, Drew?
Williams.
All right. Well, you're famous now.
Yes, sir.
So we have Drew with us as well. And your role in the company?
I'm the CFO and CMO. We're kind of both.
Lots of O's.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Lot going on.
Co-founders, just us.
All right. So you started this thing in college, and you were about to say that it was weird. Go ahead.
Well, so I'm going into my senior season of baseball at Mercer University and talking to Drew. We have this idea for starting a sports platform that functions identical to Instagram, but it's just for sports highlights.
Cool.
Because talking to, all of our friends, all my teammates, nobody wanted to post their highlights growing up on their Instagram pages because there's this negative stigma surrounding posting your own highlights.
Okay.
And so, we were wishing, man, it would have been cool if we had been posting all those the whole time, because these Instagram pages are going to be the photo albums of our lives that our kids look at.
Right.
And so it's I never posted any of the videos of me wrestling, any of the videos of Drew and I in Little League playing together, in high school baseball, football. They're all gone. I mean, I can't get them. There was one video of me scoring a touchdown that was uploaded to YouTube. So that's all I got.
Right.
And so it's all right, well, do kids have this problem? Because this app would be for kids. So I sent out a survey. I went and literally printed out 300 of them and went and gave them to 2 middle schools and 2 high schools and got back the data. And it was 72% of the kids were on Instagram. And
wow.
Of the girls, 98% of them didn't feel comfortable posting sports highlights, and 84% of the guys don't post sports highlights.
Now, did they say why they didn't feel comfortable?
Just this stigma that we're talking about.
It's you're being full of yourself doing that? Is that
So I went to the University of Mississippi, and when Conrad called me about this stigma, we had this in high school. We went to rival schools, and we had all these highlights, and we couldn't put it anywhere. If you put it on Instagram, it came off a little arrogant, stuff like that. And so we thought, why is there not a profile that could hold all these sports highlights? And so we went out, did the surveys, like what Nakia said, the customer research is huge, because we may think that there still is a negative stigma, but if the market doesn't think that, there's nothing to do.
So, and it probably is it getting less and less so? Because we're a lot quicker to show how much fun we're having at Disney World or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to post a picture of them and their girlfriend, them and their family on vacation at the beach. And kids, we're seeing the young kids especially will post on Instagram. But what we've seen, we've been doing this for 2 years now, is a lot of the kids, when they get towards the end of high school and start getting into college, they'll delete all their sports posts.
Oh, wow.
Because it's just they get to college and nobody cares.
Yeah. And all their friends are like, why'd you post that home run from junior year, man? It's not that cool.
All right, so I'm a little confused. So there's this stigma, but somehow what you guys have designed works through or around that?
So, yeah, so on Press Sports, it functions identical to Instagram. So, the majority of teenagers around the world are familiar with Instagram and are using it. So we modeled the platform after Instagram, but instead of building a follower base, you're building a fan base of people that want to see those highlights. So you don't have to.
I see. It's appropriate. It's more appropriate to do that. Almost kind of like the radio business. Like if you just, not that there's not value in, sitting at your house and doing a podcast about how smart you are, but it's more appropriate, like on the Business Radio X network, right?
Exactly.
You've got this, because that's what we do, is we cover business stories. So it's appropriate. It's expected. It makes sense that I would have my home run on Press Sports.
Yeah, because your follow base on Instagram, there's some people that are like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see your sports stuff at all, but they may want to see it on another platform like Press Sports.
How about that? Wow. So we don't have him mic'd up anymore, but I'll get a nod from him. That's good customer discovery. Really thinking I'm getting 2 thumbs up over there.
By the way, I think what you're doing for ATDC is phenomenal with the mentor, because we're 24-year-old kids, and we need this kind of mentorship that you give to us.
All right, so walk us through how you got things ramped up, what you're doing now. Yeah.
So, we were in college. This was about October of 2017. So in the fall semester of senior year, it's like to start talking to Drew. All right, let's do this. Let's make this business plan and send these surveys out to make sure kids have the problem. So December, go after some friends and family, because, we don't know how to code.
Need some capital.
All right, so you need some money to get this thing going. You can only call in so many favors, right? You got Drew fired up, but you can't have people coding till midnight on just that.
Exactly.
So we got an angel investor who was gonna take care of the MVP, and so we interviewed about 4 development companies and went with one that actually outsources to India, but they're based out of Ohio. They're called Sunflower Labs. They've done a great job, but the issue that we ran into, so, we're in the middle of our last semester of college, and we're trying to prototype this app with our team in India, and neither of us know how to use Photoshop, so we're sending them notes and sentences about what this app is supposed to look like with little sketches, and it's taking like 8 iterations to get like one screen of the prototype done.
Right.
Because we're sending it to them, and it's like, this is not their native language. Like, we can't expect them to understand. They're like misspelling words it's like, it's not their fault. We should have, if I could go back and do it, I would have been on Photoshop. I would have learned it. I would have made the prototypes exactly what they're supposed to look like, and it would have taken 10 days. But instead, it's taken 2.5 months to get the prototype done, and then they start coding the MVP. And so we launched the MVP 2 days after we got knocked out of the conference tournament. So I'm done with college, done with baseball. Drew and I moved back to Atlanta, and we have our MVP, and we're beta testing with 200 beta testers. And that kind of goes on.
All right, you got 200 athletes to start posting stuff on this platform.
Yes.
On the platform where they know they're testing it. They know we're looking for feedback to make it better.
Right. But that's work. That's grunt work, right? I mean, you don't just send an email or throw up a post. That is grunt work, getting 200 real beta testers to do this.
Yeah. So what we did is we would reach out to them on Instagram, and we made them a personal highlight tape in exchange for them being a beta tester.
Sweet. Okay.
And, it's part of it's the customer discovery is what that is, because we know exactly what they're using on the MVP and what we need to really infiltrate, what parts to really expand and stuff like that.
So we get to the point of about January, and we've had 2 updates to the app. We're ready to start kind of reaching out to people who are now users instead of people who know they're testing out something new. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where so now we're going to market, but we don't really have a marketing budget. And so we're just going crazy.
You just tell Nakia, and he tells everybody when they walk by in the lobby.
Well, so, I mean, we get to January, and we have 500 people by that point that were aware that they were testing the app, and now it's up to us to start growing it. We didn't really have a brand. Nobody really knew what Press Sports was. So we tried all these big, marketing, social marketing on Facebook, and it just wasn't as effective as we thought it was going to be, because we realized that nobody had ever heard of us before. So they're not going to necessarily be interested. But so we cut that, and we started going back to what was working to get the beta testers on there, maxing out the DMs on Instagram every single day. Yeah. And it got to the point where, we realized, okay, we have all the best baseball players in the country, literally the top ranked players in the country using the app. We need to tell people they're using the app. We need to make rankings and rank the kids that are using the app, because so what we did is we started making these rankings in, I think maybe April was our first rankings. And at that point we had about 2,500 kids on the app. Yep. And we made these files, and it showed where they were committed, and it appeared like it was our take on the national rankings for kids that are sophomores in high school, because we had all the best players. But we made such good looking files that they would all repost them and share them on their social media pages.
Nice.
And it seriously accelerated growth. I mean, those posts were getting 100,000 impressions, and they were free.
Because now you got these people doing some of that legwork for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And so to touch back on what Conrad was talking about, growing the brand, that's a big part of businesses, because we went into these Facebook advertising and we're just spending all this money. But one thing we realized is that people will not give into a product until they see the product 4 or 5 times on average. And so we realized growing that brand, which is what we've been doing, and patience, like Nakia was talking about, is huge in a startup. In the beginning, we were hovering around think 2,000 Instagram followers. Now we're up to 14,000. So, and
Wow,
that's all
big
happened in
difference.
the last 3 months just from growing the brand, and you can't rush anything. It's all, you got to just adapt to what the market gives.
But what you have going now, though, it's not going to stop. It's only going to grow and maybe even exponentially, because now you've got the community behind it.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of the top athletes in the country using the app, and so our goal is to kind of fill in the pyramid, because we've reached out to the top of the pyramid through social, like free DMs. We had a product, a platform that they, needed. We've never gotten a mess. We've gotten people that said, no, I'm not going to get on it, but we've never gotten someone say to us after we send them a DM with a quick explanation of the app and telling them to get on, say, nah, man, I'm already on this. Yeah. Because we're the only multi-sport platform that's taking this approach to, it's a social media.
So it's not just baseball.
It's not just baseball, because
it just happens to be where y'all came from, so that was a good place to start.
Baseball's been a good start for us, but volleyball, football, basketball, they've all been coming around big time.
Fantastic.
Lacrosse has the most momentum right now.
Yep.
All right, and so is it high school, collegiate, or can it just keep going further down and you'll find your penetration?
It's so kind of going back a little bit, backtracking. The vision, kind of one of the things we thought of initially was, okay, we're at the Braves game. This is back even before, and we're talking about, man, Dansby Swanson. He's, every 15-year-old in Atlanta's hero right now, and Acuna. How come we can't go on a profile and see every single thing they've done in sports, including their weightlifting accomplishments? Maybe they played basketball in high school. Everything a full picture of them as an athlete in footage on one profile, because none of them post it. Just like the kids, just like us, none of the pros post their highlights either.
Right.
So a profile of Dansby or Acuna that dates back to when they were 13 and made a profile of
that would be cool, right?
So what we did now, and what's awesome, is we've got all these top players in the country. We've got, Dylan Lesko's a top-ranked player. He's out of Buford right now. That's
Eric
a rising
Gilbert.
sophomore. Eric Gilbert, the tight end at Marietta. Drew Jones, Andrew Jones' son. We've got Jaden Fielder on there, Prince Fielder's son. These kids, and those are the pro sons that you would know, but a lot of them don't have the names like that are equally as good. They're posting all their footage on press. They're 14 years old, and a lot of them are going to be those Mike Trouts, those Bryce Harpers. Maybe not, but they're going to be pros. And 10 years from now, little Johnny, who's 4 years old right now, will be in SunTrust Park being able to look back at this guy's press profile and see what he was doing to train when he was 14 years old.
Right. Yeah. See that he's benching 120 pounds, right?
Exactly.
When he's 14 or whatever, right?
And so if I'm a 15-year-old and I want to know how good what was Bryce Harper doing when he was 15? Was he lifting the same as me?
Very
Was
cool.
he, how hard was he throwing? You can't find any of that film anywhere. That's the interesting.
All right. Do we have a plan to make money on this? It sounds fun. Do we have a plan to make money on this thing, or are we still trying to figure that piece out?
We definitely have a plan. So we've got all these kids on there. We're going to fill in the bottom of the pyramid first. There's a chicken or the egg situation where you got to get the players before the coaches sign on, because there's the social media side of it. It's a place to interact with different athletes and share your stuff. But at the same time, you're posting all your sports highlights in one place, and on that same profile, you can upload your grades, your contact info, your coach's contact info, and a photo of your transcript.
Okay, so now we're talking the recruiting world.
Yep. It's a recruiting tool, not a recruiting app.
Going back to customer discovery, after talking to 10 college coaches in person, the biggest pain point that crosses each sport is that college coaches are spending time talking to players, recruiting them, all this time, all this effort, and then they get their transcript back after at least a week. That's the time frame of it takes a week to get back a transcript. This kid's never getting into school. Waste of time.
Right.
So that's a huge pain point for college coaches. And so what we've created is, all right, that kid got my attention. I was here to watch the left fielder, but shortstop made a great play, hit a double in the gap, or I was here to watch the libero in volleyball and the outside hitter had a phenomenal game. I'm going to look at her press profile. Okay, she works hard in the weight room. She also plays basketball, obviously great at volleyball. This is her transcript. All right, she's a fit. I'm going to use she's never going to get in there. I'm not going to waste time talking to her, even though she's a great player. I might tell that other school, my conference that isn't so academic. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, probably not in your conference, but so it's a huge tool for coaches. So what we're going to be doing long term, obviously build the value through the user base and then getting the coaches on is charge the athletes a $10 monthly subscription, which allows coaches to access their contact information and academic resume. So they can use it as a social media.
I'm spending that 15 minutes in the batting cage with my local minor league player coaching me to be a hopeful collegiate athlete, right? So that's very modest investment, I would think, right?
Yeah, it's so much more affordable than these other recruiting platforms that are online, and that's what we're trying to help out as well. We want everyone on the app, not just people that can afford that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right. So biggest challenge right now? What's the biggest hurdle for you right now, and how can we help maybe?
So we're going through our seed round B right now because we've got to raise these funds.
You need more money.
Yes. Yeah, we need more
Drew's
money. Drew's
pockets are exhausted. We got to go get some more money.
I'm getting ready I'm going to sell my car here in a little bit.
Yeah.
To develop, because you need more better tech.
So one thing we were talking about, that viral ability, that exponential growth, and one thing we're doing after getting feedback from our users in addition, a second time a couple months ago, is one of the questions we asked them in a survey was, hey, if you had a link to your Press Sports profile, would you use it? If you would use it, how would you use it? That was a question, 140 responses, 65% of the kids mentioned without being provoked, I want to put this link in my Instagram bio, in my Twitter bio. Those are billboards, virtual billboards.
Well, and that's another way. Maybe they don't want to see the big, the highlight on Instagram, but maybe it's cool. It's okay to have the link over here on this other platform.
It's just a link to a separate profile.
Right. Just like on LinkedIn, highlights. A link on your LinkedIn to your Radio X interview. That's different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, we're building this web app so that kids can send a link to their profile and an email to a coach. They can put it in their Instagram bio, and they already put their Huddle links, which is, Huddle's a competitor, but they have a much different approach where the coaches of high schools pay money for all the members of their team to have a profile, and the coaches share footage with them. Those kids can then create highlight tapes based on the footage that's shared with them by their coach, but they can't upload something to their profile outside of what the coach has shared to them.
All right. But you guys need money. And what else you need? You need some more smarts. You need some mentoring. What do you need?
I think a CTO, it's definitely something that we're keeping our eyes out for.
Just so you don't have to outsource completely to Ohio and Sunflower Labs. They've done a great job, but it's always good to have someone in house doing that. Sure.
And it's probably an unfair question. I'll ask it anyway. Timeline. Do you think you're 2 years out from really having this thing rocking and rolling? You think you're,
I think
6 months out?
We're a year out from implementing the revenue model.
Okay.
Right now, we're in the middle of this round, and then we're probably going to have, which gives us this $300,000 that we're raising right now. I don't know if I was supposed to go into the specifics of money.
You don't have to. I'm just kind of curious about where you are in your development, what you see on the horizon. But I will ask one thing about the money, because it occurs to me that can be a whole nother job. Just, you're trying to get all this put together, and then you got this whole other job of going out and trying to raise money. And really what I wanted to ask is, to what degree has it been helpful to be part of this ATDC ecosystem on all of these fronts?
So, Brad Schweizer is investment relations, and he's been a big help. He's taught me a lot about the convertible notes, all of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, because that's your thing. That's one of your O hats, right?
Yeah, he gave me a textbook, and I learned about a chapter of these convertible notes, and now I get it entirely. I totally get it. And so, he's connected us with some people. Basically, all day I'm reaching out to potential investors while I'll let Conrad mainly run the other stuff, because right now we're in a seed round. Mm-hmm. And so, if we were both doing it, the company would plateau, and that wouldn't be too well. So yeah, basically we're in the seed round. I'm having to reach out to these people, and that's about it.
Well, isn't it nice too to have a business partner? Because look, most days I'm operating under the impression you're excited, you're full of vim and vinegar, you get up, you want to tackle the world. But some days can be tough as an entrepreneur, and it's nice to have that other partner to sort of balance the scales on days like that, isn't it?
Definitely.
It
helps that we're also best friends. So
Right.
if one of us, we're not afraid to talk to each other.
And the
that's always a
athletic
big thing.
background, I made the high school baseball team because I had a car, but we all got to do our part. The other two athletes on the team didn't have a ride to practice, so everybody's got to do their part. But what I do remember is, there is a certain degree of, even in high school athletics, of fortitude, and you got to stick with. Do you find that your athletic background is serving you well in your entrepreneurial pursuit?
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a few different things that giving you a little bit of background on my life and my relationship with Drew. So, growing up at the age of 8, I was diagnosed with Langerhans cell histiocytosis, which is a cancer-related blood disorder, treated with chemotherapy. And so that kind of forced me at a very young age to really value the opportunity that every day presents. And then what was even crazier is a month after I was cured, got my port taken out, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And my dad lives in London. I'm British. My parents are divorced. So my mom's a single mom with breast cancer that just had. So we move out to Covington with my grandma, but I'm still going to Westminster here in Atlanta, where my dad's grandmother set up a trust fund for me to go to, which was amazing. So I'm living with Drew in Covington, doing this whole crazy commute thing, like giving baseball lessons to make money to get by. I mean, I'm scrapping and like loving life, loving football, loving everything, but then get to college baseball and it's like, okay, you're getting up at 5 a.m. every day.
And everybody else is good too. And I guess I wasn't good enough to play college, but I assume when you get there, everybody's good. Right?
Yeah, definitely. and another thing about sports is one day you may not have a good day, but you got to know tomorrow is a whole new day, and you got to come perform.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can't dwell on anything. So that's another thing that sports really teaches you.
Yeah.
So I think kind of like that experience at a young age and then going in and struggling to make it to, because I experienced these problems. Like press sports is a solution to my recruiting struggle and Drew's high school career not being documented. There's two issues there. I had a big struggle in recruiting where I never had that big hit in front of the right coach at the right time.
Right.
Even though coaches were interested in me, they would tell my coach, man, I love the way that guy hustles on and off the field. I just want to see him get the big hit. And I never got the big hit in front of him. So I just kept grinding at it after my senior year uncommitted and played a good tournament. Finally, Mercer gave me a full scholarship. Well, 50% baseball, 50% academic. I committed there a month before school started. So I stuck with it. Stuck with the dream of wanting to play in college and pro, but that didn't. Luckily, this came along and kind of filled that void for me. But
but you guys are no stranger to adversity and undocumented. That you didn't have good records of your high school.
Exactly, and so that's what's also interesting is that we both have different perspectives on what we wanted the app to be. Because Conrad more thought of the recruiting, and I thought of just being the regular high school kid that wanted to document my highlights. Because there's nowhere that I could have put that stuff. And I know I had these videos, but there was just no platform like Press Sports in which I could save them.
Wow. But isn't that how so many great ideas are born? And then for you guys to exercise the discipline to get it validated and refined with your customer discovery. Well, keep up the good work, gentlemen. I'm excited for you.
Thank you, Stone. I appreciate it. I love what you're doing with the ATDC Radio. I think it's great.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and keep us posted.
Yeah, we will.
That's definitely.
It's a pretty exciting time for us right now. Yesterday was our biggest day of growth to date. So we need to go get back in.
Yeah, we gotta go grind.
All right, we'll turn you loose then. All right, we'll be back in a little bit from ATDC Radio.